Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be joined by Lexie Larkin of LarkinFamilyLaw.com. Lexie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, we're super excited. Special thank you to financial advisor Bob Lehman, who introduced us. Lexie, let's go back in time a little bit. What inspired you to become a lawyer?
I was told at a very young age that I like to argue. And so I think I honed a lot of my early lawyering skills on the poor family members of my household. And then when I started studying different, topics in undergrad, that's when I became more interested in law. And so that prompted me to go to law school, and everything went from there.
All right. And then how did you kind of evolve into the specialty of marital and family law that you have?
I was a teaching assistant in between undergrad and law school. I graduated early and took a year to teach 4th grade, which was really fun. And I had 2 students that had some abuse in their families, unfortunately. And in both situations, these poor kids, as a teacher, there was only so much you could do for them. Once you reported it kind of up the chain and to the requisite people, there really wasn't much else you could do. And so that really struck a chord with me. And I wanted to help kids in a way that was, and help them get a voice. And so I started working in law school with the guardian ad litem program in Pinellas County, and volunteering as a guardian ad litem. And that dovetailed into helping families and practicing family law. And that's how I've made my career thus far, is by doing that. And that's all I've ever done to date.
Okay. Well, that's an inspiring story as to how you found your passion for it. What do you think are some of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to those types of things, and whether it's dissolving a relationship or custody or things of that nature?
People come to me after, sometimes after they've tried to go it on their own. They figure that, how hard can this be? Let me fill out, a form I found online, and try to file their own paperwork. And sometimes that can lead to mistakes, either procedurally or substantively, that, they wrote certain words, not understanding the true meaning of them, or they filed a document incorrectly. They didn't realize the legal consequences to the document they were signing. And depending on what they've signed or how far along in the process, sometimes I can help them correct it. We do everything we can to make that happen. But sometimes if they've already signed an agreement, for example, that's legally enforceable, as long as they entered into it knowingly and voluntarily, then there's only so much a lawyer can do at that point. So that's why I would say a common mistake that I see from individuals that haven't retained an attorney is that they just inadvertently make a mistake along the way.
Sure. Don't do it yourself. Absolutely. And other legal disclaimer, you are in the state of Florida. So anything
Correct.
we're talking about, you're going to answer from the Florida perspective. For those of you watching or listening who aren't in the state of Florida, make sure you seek counsel licensed where you are. So let's keep going down this path. When it comes to, let's say, family law, child custody, what are some of the things that people do that screw them up or screw up their kids in that process?
I think being too focused on what the other parent is doing, and either in the divorce process or in their personal life, or what they have or have not said to you or done for you, etc., instead of focusing on their children, if they have minor children. And sometimes people, because it's an emotional process, right? It's the death of a relationship. Let's call a spade. It's the transition to a new part of their life. And that's fraught with emotionality, right? And that's normal and that's fine. And that's part of what we deal as family law lawyers. That's part of the job. And what we deal with is navigating that. But it can cloud your judgment and in terms of what's best for your children. And that's really what needs to be the focus of the divorce process in terms of, what people refer to as custody or a parenting plan, your time sharing, is what's best for your children. And I have yet to see a parent who is focused on that during their divorce that's been upset with the outcome. Because if both parents can focus on that, then they're generally happier with the end result, because they've gotten their priorities in order, so to speak.
That makes sense. I would imagine that most of your clients aren't coming to you because they're thrilled, happy, and want to get married. I'm guessing you see more of them at the end of that process. Why do you think so many marriages end in divorce? I mean, I know you're not a marriage counselor, but you see couples breaking up every day. What are some of the most common reasons?
I would say growing apart, and that can marinate and manifest differently for different couples. But we as children, I think, and just culturally, it's communicated to us at a very young age that your spouse is somebody that's supposed to like complete you, right? They're supposed to serve all of your needs and fill all of those things. And they're supposed to be with you for a lifetime, right? First comes love, then comes marriage, the whole thing, right? And rarely in life is that true. For some people it is, that have been married 50, 60 years, and they learn to grow together, and they grow apart, but they find ways to come back to each other. That's just not realistic for many people. There are relationships that serve you for certain periods of your life. And sometimes you grow apart for whatever reason. And that's okay. There's no shame in that. But a lot of people come to my office because of growth, that they've grown apart from their spouse and they just haven't found a way to reconnect. It's not, although infidelity is very common in our practice, I don't see that as the number one cause. I always tell, my clients or people in my office that it's always a symptom of a marriage that's struggling, but very rarely have I ever seen where that's like the underlying cause of what's going on.
That makes a lot of sense. You have been selected by Super Lawyers as a rising star in the state of Florida, an honor received by less than 2.5% of lawyers in the state. That's quite an honor. How did that come about?
I don't know, actually. I think you get nominated, and then you can vote on your I guess nominations. And so the first year that I received the Rising Star Award, I don't know who nominated me or who voted, but I was very much appreciative. And it's been a trip. It's been awesome. It's very honored for that.
That is fantastic. What are some of the most common financial mistakes people make when separating?
I think the biggest one is that they got to blow this money before they split it with their spouse. And, that they think now's the time to go buy the Maserati or go get the plastic surgery they've been awaiting. And that can be a big problem if they do that in anticipation of then if they go, get some very expensive plastic surgery or go buy a Porsche on Friday, and then they go file for divorce on Monday, the court can actually claw that back. So the money that they've spent and count it as money they've already received in the divorce. So that's a mistake I see people make, is that they go right before leading up to the divorce, kind of pre-divorce planning, if you will, and they go blow a bunch of money thinking that, okay, now I've spent it on myself, I'm not going to have to share it. And that can be a problem during the course of their proceedings. So that's just one of many, but that's one that commonly comes up.
Absolutely. How are clients finding you?
Word of mouth is the biggest one. Other attorneys, former clients, and a few either retired judges, people who used to be judges. So the legal community and former clients are the two biggest sources of how people find me.
Yeah, and those introductions, those referrals speak volumes to the quality of the work that you're doing. Your passion's obvious. What do you like best about what you do?
Helping people going through a really rough time. And that may come across as a little cliche, but it's really true. I mean, you have good people going through some of the worst times in their life, and they need somebody to kind of be the sounding board and to kind of right the ship in what's a stormy, chaotic environment sometimes emotionally. If you're moving, you're physically from here to there. And so my goal is always to give somebody like a safe ground, at least in terms of their legal, it's already hard enough for you to deal with the emotional, the psychological, the physical moving, all of that. Let me take care of the legal part so that you don't have to worry about it. And allowing people and seeing people through that process, you see people going from a very, broken state of mind. They're just, their world is shattered. Maybe they weren't expecting it. Maybe they knew it was coming, but they've been married for 35 years and they just don't really know where to go from here. I mean, the emotions run the gamut. And to see how those people find themselves again through the process, and it's kind of like a butterfly effect, right? They come out a different person than they were when you met them. That's super rewarding to me, to be able to help people through that tough time and watch them come out the other side, a different and oftentimes a better version of themselves.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. You are always learning. What are some of the best books you've ever read, or some of the podcasts, or some of the programs that you listen to for inspiration and personal development?
Luckily my commute to work is all of 8 minutes. So I don't spend a ton of time, listening to podcasts as much as I want. I love podcasts. The one that I listen to in 8-minute increments is The Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. I love learning about areas outside of law, and they have some of the best experts in every single field that you could imagine. And like I was just listening to Tom Brady, and then the next one was Barack Obama. It spans the gamut. And so it gives me a brief reprieve in a way that doesn't feel like it feels academic without having to read a book. Because as lawyers, we read a lot all day long. So I love podcasts because it feels like you're learning, but you're not actually having to read.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, we greatly appreciate your time. We know it's incredibly valuable. For our folks who are watching or listening who maybe are in the state of Florida, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you?
My website is larkinfamilylaw.com. That's www.larkinfamilylaw.com. And so they can go to my website. You can actually make a consultation with me directly through the website. And, we also have a Facebook page, Larkin Law. That's our home base is Tampa, Florida, but we service clients all the way from Sarasota, Florida, up to through Pasco County. So kind of all down the West Coast between those 2 points. And that's probably the easiest way to find me is through those avenues.
All right. Well, this has been Seth Greene with Lexie Larkin of larkinfamilylaw.com. Thank you to Bob Lehman for the introduction. Thank you, Lexie, for an awesome interview. Thank you to everybody watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time. Lexie, thanks again for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.